All right.
Well, that last part happened, and it was a good time of merriment. And also, don't bang the pots, Tio.
Honestly,
You never know what you can find inside.
honestly, I kind of respect this game for being kind of shameless with with what it does. You know, because you don't typically see a lot of games like this nowadays.
I mean, look, use that M rating for a good reason. The emphasis being on a good reason. Don't just use it for bad reasons.
The thing is that there's not much dismemberment in this game. There is violence and a lot of blood, but surprisingly enough, not much dismemberment, decapitation, and such. The everything is played around with. For example, you've seen that the Gorgon's heart being ripped straight out, much like the other. Some of our enemies were, Dracula rips the heart off. There was that scene at the beginning, which was very intense in that regard. Also, here's the cool thing with the mist.
Sorry.
If there are currents of air, you can use that with the mist to your advantage to move into rooms that would normally be locked. So pay attention to all the surroundings, not just with grates. Go on, Pedro.
Heck, Ghost of Tsushima has more decapitations in this game.
Mm-hmm. And as you've seen also in the previous part, there are some swearing, but not too much, Alright, let's go with the memorial. Nolan the Miserable does not deserve to be remembered for his action, rather for his nickname. This memorial is for eternal shame for those who, like him, dishonor the princess. Invincible is embodied that guided the brotherhood of light to victory against the forces of Dracula. According to the Chronicles of Time, Nolan left his detachment to his own fate in the castle dungeons, and although he himself met a dishonorable death not much later, this memorial will exhibit his dishonor. Shame. Shame. Shame.
For shame.
But yeah, go on, Pedro.
Well, actually, I was kind of done.
Oh, as usual, I thought someone was mentioning something.
No, all I said...
Gabriel, you had a date with your ex, you reunited with your wife. How does that make you feel as a man? Do you feel better now?
More like you feel small in this world, small as a mouse.
It's a small world.
You question the fact that your mind procured sexy thoughts of Carmilla, in which case you impaled her so much that she burned up.
Again, when you really, really get down to it, this is all just a giant therapy session for poor Gabriel. And what we got here?
Quite an interesting therapy session.
Oh yeah, another thing. From these special urns, there you go. You can potentially gain not just pieces for the Kleidos, whether it's pronounced, but also things that increase your maximum capacity for your sub-weapons. So it's always good to just sneak around and see things that you can find. Again, like I said, if you're having trouble, you can use the Dodo sub-weapon, yes, in order to have a better general idea on where to find the collectible. You will still have some trouble in some occasion because you need to take into account verticality, not just the map as it's presented to you, but it's perfectly doable. Again, I also really love the theme that goes when Dracula is turned into a mouse. Again, very sneaky. They also play around a bit with the concept later on. Alright, let's get this arc. Wow. Cha-ching. This is another thing. Oscar's score for the modern setting also has incorporates more, has a couple of more modern instruments, despite still using mostly an orchestra. So we get moments like that one that you have just probably heard, where the soundtrack goes a bit slightly cyberpunk-ish. It's been very interesting on how much this man can multitask if he wants. Again, the score is literally one of the best things about this series, and I kind of sad that Oscar is not composing more for video games, because the guy totally fits like a glove.
One thing that I would like to expand upon what I said earlier, actually,
Gone.
is I actually about not many games doing what these games do nowadays. I think that's something that I'm particularly miffed about because now. Oh, hold on.
Now, basically, we're just having to fight against, again, the police squad, only with these guys love to spread out mines.
To be perfectly honest, I'm getting a bit tired of every time. Again, we're seeing it right now as well with what
Mortal
people.
Kombat 11.
Oh well, no, actually, I wasn't.
Actually, Jova, let me say what it is first.
No, not really. I was talking about. I was talking about games that Mortal Kombat 11 has plenty of this stuff as well. So it's I don't see what I'm talking about. Joe, is a lot of games that do this kind of stuff nowadays. We're seeing it right now with Final Fantasy, Stranger of Paradise, where we're no longer every time any work of media tries to emulate this particular static that we're watching right now, it's immediately denounced and written off as cringe garbage, and I'm getting a bit tired of it because I still think this kind of stuff has its place, personally.
Wait. When do people refer to this game as cringe?
Not this one.
I don't mean this particular one, Joe. I mean a lot of times I see that every time a particular work of media wants to try to emulate this style, the early 2000s type of, what's the correct word? Edge type of stuff. And every time. It's always seen as embarrassing cringe shit, and I
love early 2000s.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Dej. I still believe that this kind of
mostly to how the gaming journalist.
Exactly.
Places push that kind of narrative.
Yeah, that's my problem because I still believe that this kind of stuff has its place. If you don't like it, that's fine by me. That's fine. It's just that I don't think. Again, I talked to Deji about this the other day. That's why I hate the term butt rock, because it's such a derogatory term to describe a particular type of rock and roll. You can so tell it was made up specifically so they can insult this specific type of rock because they find it terrible for inherently terrible.
With music criticism, I actually never heard.
Fortunately, we have a musician here, Jova. Would you mind explaining to us what constitutes the term butt rock, if you don't mind?
I'll admit, I was not aware that butt rock was supposedly a derogatory term.
Well, no. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I personally find it derogatory to that specific type of music. That's what I'm saying. It's not actually considered. It's just me who personally does.
This is your method of fast travel. Actually, the castle had, even in the modern time, a couple of rooms like this built by the toy maker, which, thanks to the activation, again, thanks through blood, will allow you to move into different parts of the castle, but how precisely? Again, by fueling the contraption with Dracula's blood, you create an actual, on-scale, miniature map of the castle, or in this case, the city. You can move between its different places.
Oh, here you go. Sorry, Teo. Sorry, go on.
And there you go. I will not really use it, because it's mostly used for backtracking, but I wanted to show it because it does actually look cool. Go on, Pedro.
Yeah, basically, it says right here, Joe, I found the specific... butt rock is a... hold on. The term comes from a nationwide advertising campaign on hard rock radio stations. Basically saying...
Oh, that.
It says right here... God, I lost it.
Okay.
Where was it?
Okay.
Yeah,
basically,
Jova, the idea is that it's a derogatory term used to talk about hard rock radio stations in the 1990s and use it. Basically, Jova, for example, Crush 40, for example. We're all familiar with Crush 40 here. Crush 40's music is regarded as quote-unquote butt rock, and I hate when bands like Crush 40 get that, because I find that term so derogatory and completely... it implies terribleness, with a word like that. But go on.
Okay, when was Crush 40 ever referred to as butt rock?
Oh, plenty of people do on the internet.
I've heard it.
That's now that I think about it, you are correct. Butt rock is sort of a derogatory term. Now, granted, I will say there are some pieces that, really do sound like nothing but just, noise.
Oh, definitely.
That being said, That being said, though, yeah, I do not care for how butt rock is thrown out, and now knowing that it can be used as a derogatory term, yeah, I can get how that can be annoying.
Let me put it this, Shoba. Yes, there is plenty of rock songs that are terrible, but that's just it. They're bad because they're terrible. But just calling one particular type of rock and roll butt rock, you're basically telling me that you find the entire genre to be bad, inherently bad, and I'm sorry, I do not. I reject that notion.
Experience has taught me that a lot of people are ignorant when it comes to music. Like how people would say that modern rap is bad. It's like, no, you just need to listen to better rap songs.
The
Exactly.
one I remember the most, and this also for a personal experience, which I was more versed into that. Basically, the people who listen mostly to heavy metal, the a bit superficial, dismissing of instead the grunge subtype, which is deemed as more, too chaotic, too noisy, and too incoherent to be put on the same place other types of heavy metal. When
Yeah, here you go, I found it.
it just needs its place to be. That's all. Go on.
Yeah, right here. Check this out. Like I found according to the Urban Dictionary, here's what butt rock is. A style. Sorry. Is there something going on?
No. Go on.
Well, I mean, I think we pretty much did establish what it is at this point, though, and yeah, now that you piqued my bout, yeah, butt rock is essentially a derogatory.
I get that, Joe. I get that, Joe. I just wanted to read this one more thing because I find the way it's described here to be pretty much emblematic of what the problem I have with this particular whoever coined this stupid term.
All right, go on.
A style of, according to Urban Dictionary, a style of hard rock and heavy metal music that is quote-unquote watered down both musically and lyrically to garner maximum radio play and mainstream acceptance. Lyrical themes are drawn from a put-on tough guy bro persona and include being a badass, getting lots of pussy, strippers, partying, like as if. Okay. And what's wrong with a power fantasy type of song? I mean. I'm not saying
what
people.
What you said about the voice do remind me of some of those songs like. Oh, hold on, I'll need to read this first. This luxurious building was built nearly a century ago to those of the most illustrious families of our society. The driving force behind it, Lord Zobek, who financed its creation along with that of many other homes of the city's wealthy neighborhood. We must recognize the enormous influence that this well-known businessman has had over the growth of our select group, and thank him for his effort and dedication in undertaking these works. Seeing how he continues to be healthy and full of energy at the age of 112 reminds us that the secret of success is not only in keeping a good image, but also to be generous.
Never give up.
Never gonna give you up. But what I was mentioning is that the whole thing about that the voice does remind me a bit of some songs of the early 2000s. Not so much I'm Still Here from I Treasure Japan. That one is actually well regarded. But songs with that kind of similar vibe would have the main voice of the song, but it sounds very scratchy, like like this, yo, tended to get actually a bad reputation. I don't know if that is the one that constitutes, the term butt rock.
Like I can give an example
regarding the voice. Reminded me of that.
I can give an example too. Like wrestling fans like me, Dwibs, and Dej love songs like "This Fire Burns" by Killswitch Engage, or God, what's the name of Edge's theme, Dwibs?
Think you know me?
Yeah. That song is also something that wrestling fans love because it's a classic, for them. But according to the terminology, it's quote unquote
Metalingus.
The actual song's called Metalingus.
That's it. Thank you. But according to the official terminology or whatever, it's butt rock. And like I said, I find this term very derogatory, and I hate whoever coined it. Like it's just.
Pedro?
Sorry, Shirei?
In my experience, music fans are some of the snootiest, most petty assholes I've ever come across in my life.
Thank you.
These kinds of terms are everywhere.
Like for example, Shirei, you love Crush 40, right?
Yeah.
According to those people you just mentioned, Crush 40 is butt rock. And as a big fan of Crush 40, I absolutely reject that notion. That that this thing is apparently beneath me. Apparently, go on.
That reminds me, Drova. Volkova.
Go on, go on.
I'm listening.
Obviously, you probably know a lot more about jazz than I will ever do. Is it true that there are a lot of improv jazz artists that love to like do a bit of improv and call their performance with very bullshit names that they just fought for that second?
Yeah. The thing about jazz, a lot of people will go like, "Oh, jazz is dead here and there, and it's not as remembered and whatnot."
Also,
Here's the thing,
I
Joe,
want to
hip-hop-
mention a bit about this memorial because I'm not reading it since it's gone by now. But yeah, in this universe, cinema was invented, and the most famous movie is called Alucard the Vampire.
Also-
Get it.
Also,
In
the,
this universe, they recognize him more as Alucard instead of Dracula because Dracula is blasphemous.
To be fair, there was an actual movie. The whole thing about Alucard being Dracula backwards was actually coined in one of the early movies where they actually read the there was literally written on his coffin the name Alucard, and we have this scene of these two investigators like idiots where they're like, "Oh, it sounds like Dracula spelled backwards." But go on, Jova.
No. The whole thing with jazzing is like, yeah, you may get some name calling here and there, but we genuinely just ignore that in that
no.
regard.
Please do.
Okay.
I love jazz. What the fuck is wrong
In
with
case you're wondering, there's not really a collective derogatory term for jazz, if that's what you're wondering.
Thank God.
No, not that. I was mostly curious about that particular category of people, which I did ever actually about it. No, the only other stereotype, if that has to be called about jazz, is the fact that unless you're an actual proper player, you don't know anything about jazz.
Let me put it this way.
Look.
Sorry,
Even
go
as
on.
a jazz player myself, now that is some elitist BS.
I'm not a jazz player, but I love jazz, and I absolutely refuse that notion as well. But
Jazz is fun. Anyway.
yes. Let me put it this way. The reason people like me and Wiz love playing Grand Theft Auto 5 is because not because we actually agree with the stuff the characters do in that game, but because it's kind of a think of it as a power fantasy, as in it's not that we agree with the immoral actions of the characters. It's more so that there's a fun there's a fun factor that tickles some part of our brain that allows us to at the very least, again, live a power fantasy. Like we get to live the life of a drug baron and stuff like that, and stuff like that. You know, like not. It's not that we want to do that in real life. It's just something that it's fun because it tickles a specific part of our brain that is, well, for lack of a better term, pleasurable. You know. The same thing happens. The same thing happens.
Want to do
Sorry.
everything a video game character does is ludicrous. That's like saying, "Oh, we play Crash Bandicoot. That means we as kids will totally want to go into deep, spooky, dark temple ruins with giant-ass spiders who can kill us with a single touch."
Yeah,
Totally.
Simpler than that, it would just mean you're a furry.
Yeah, the same thing. It's the same. I will argue it's kind of the same thing with something like what people usually refer to as butt rock, even though I hate using that term. But because again, it's not high art music, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to be something that can tickle a specific part of your brain that allows you to, again, to live a power. Okay, it's a song that, like this term thing he says, it puts on a tough guy bro persona about being a badass. Well, what's wrong with that? People like indulging in fantasies where they're a badass. It's fun.
I'd love for the Sonic series to go back to this kind of music
Exactly.
for an entire soundtrack.
Exactly.
They kind of did with Team Sonic Racing.
Yeah, they did, Shiroi.
Okay, a game that we want to play.
Well, actually, Shiroi, Team Sonic Racing is a good game.
I
It's
like
just that
Team Sonic Racing.
Team Sonic Racing is a good game. It's just
I
that.
would love to play with people, but everyone dropped it after a month.
Frozen Junkyard is an amazing song.
Yes.
It is. It really is.
That's what I've been saying, Shiroi. I've been wanting June to be the sound director for a main series game for so long at this point, but unfortunately we never get it.
Yeah, probably for the best. Too.
We're actually almost done, actually. But that reminds me of something. I think you mentioned it when we actually commented on it, or in another occasion, Pedro. But I was checking out of curiosity Tommy Tararisco's, works. Apparently, it was partially composing for Sonic and the Black Knight.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. That yes, he composed some tracks with that.
I forgot
And
about that.
and his tracks are actually some of the best ones in the game.
Also, apparently, did partially compose also for the Spider-Man PS1 games we commented.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, remember, Teo, back in the 90s and early 2000s, he was a very prolific composer, and so let me.
Cutscene.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
ask more about something else later.
Sure, yeah, go
But yeah,
ahead.
we finally reached the place where they synthesize the vaccine, and of course it has to be guarded.
Oh god, please don't tell me the anti-vaxxers get their info from this game.
No. Don't you see, if you get vaccinated, you're a soldier of Satan or some shit like that. Can you even imagine if that's the next excuse?
My phone can't have 5G, but at least I do.
Bonjour.
Yeah, now you have superpowers. How does
And
it
apparently
feel,
you get
Sarah?
your shot through your actual, bodysuit. You don't even actually have to move away to
How
expose
strong are those needles?
or how weak is your suit.
Or maybe there's a hole, like you just.
And the
untap
vaccine is
it and-
instantaneous. Like, you can remove your suit after that. Okay.
Down.
Alright, we just need to pass through that pesky guard. So let's try to move around. Yes, Gabriel, I noticed that.
Teo,
Don't you just love
Again, again, this is probably another homage to Metal Gear, where Snake, does the expositional parrot, as TV tropes call it. Having to slightly repeat something after he gets told by it.
Either that or Teo decided to channel me in terms of my frustration with stating the obvious, or stuff that we already learned like a minute ago.
It's not even that, it's the
not even a
timing.
minute,
We have
though.
this
It's
very
literally
long,
seconds.
we have a long cutscene that explains all the procedure. At the very end, Gabriel is like, "Oh, it's the obvious thing."
Oh, don't
To
mind
answer-
sanitation or anything. Here's just a rat.
I think I mentioned in the second part, but watch out, you're not invulnerable just because you're a rat. If the guards see you and you're pesting too much around, they will start shooting you, so watch out on that. Go ahead, Pedro.
To answer Jova, yeah, I just checked. Hold on, cutscene.
No,
Oh.
I will tell you. It's soon enough, but go on in the meantime.
To answer Jova, yeah, I'm checking his Sega Retro page right here. Yes, he's the lead composer of Team Sonic Racing, which also translates out to Sound Retro. Basically, I'm sure if I check the credits of the game itself, they probably will say that, like it's just for the other games.
Just be out of curiosity, Pedro, since I noticed another game that I actually know about that Tommy composed for. Have you actually played Advent Rising?
No, but I've heard about it.
Apparently, that's one of his best scores that I actually heard of.
I've
so
heard
that's
that.
pretty cool.
I've heard about that too. Yes.
It has fallen into obscurity, but recently the APA has actually been purchased by THQ Nordic, so they're probably doing something with that.
That should be good. If I remember correctly, the
The
original
senior
game.
guard, just the usual guy. grumpily
I
coming
hate
through.
Mondays.
Well,
But
this
it's
is quite a
Saturday.
particular.
Yeah, Saturdays are kind of boring ever since Saturday morning.
Every
Oh,
day
wait,
is a
no,
Monday.
no, sure. Don't you see? It would just make perfect sense that Satan chooses to return on a Monday.
Alright, let's see if the guard inside is actually a bit more of a reaction if he sees his colleague moving like a zombie.
Come on through.
Nope, absolutely not.
Oh, it's just Gary being Gary.
Injection in the neck.
Yeah, I'll take that, thank you.
It's an anti-vaxxer.
Hold on, wait for it. We're probably gonna like this.
You didn't even have to kill that guy. And meanwhile, the guard's just watching this.
It's not done for comedic timing, but it has that kind of effect.
I'm not paid enough for this.
Oh, I'll kind of use all thing.
So what's the message here? Dracula hates anti-vaxxers.
Kinda.
Good message.
Remember, we're doing this to get the vaccine, so we're gonna use it for Raisa Volkova, and finally she will tell us, hopefully, when she comes back to being a human, she will tell us the location of the acolytes. There you go, jam right there.
What shit have you injected me with?
You should know.
Insect?
Your own antidote, my dear. When your possession disappears, you are going to tell us where the acolytes are.
Oh no.
Oh crap.
You don't really need a translation, Shiri. She's just very, very angry.
Ah, okay.
The possession isn't disappearing.
Yeah, it turns out she's actually Satan's little girl.
How adorable.
Which means that an antidote for her will just make her more powerful.
More of a booster. Yeah, here's the thing that neither Zobek nor Dracula have even considered the fact that Raisa was one of the acolytes. They didn't even bother thinking about it for a second.
And that's the thing, she's literally a daughter of Satan. Like, she claims to have been a horror Satan?
Oh,
no,
shit.
she's legit his daughter.
I love the sorry. I'll say that.
There's also a problem. Remember, we need to act in secrecy, so if she gets away, she may alert the other acolytes, and that's a big problem.
And now she's free.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
You and your lackey have a date with hell, and my father will know that it was I.
Thankfully, she's a prideful sort, so she wants to kill us herself.
Well, actually, no. Well, that also too, but she also wants to get away. We'll get a convenient in-story explanation of why we're able to, not let her get away. Yeah, that's close enough with pronunciation. Oh, that's just rude.
You just destroyed the building of death. That enough rubble for you? Oh, damn it, I'd already just finished the down payments on this building!
It wasn't even... Yeah.
You're
The
never getting that deposit back.
The mortgage wasn't even paid off yet. Oh, we're about to see an acolyte's true form for the first time.
Oh god, isn't she lovely?
Well, it's a bit of an improvement, I suppose, but not much. She's more of a sphinx in this form.
I have to pet it.
Where are you gonna pet her?
Yeah, that's a problem.
I was referencing the song.
A spell of confusion? Jeez, Ovek, you really do have everything. Basically, that would mean that Zobek will be busy throughout the entire fight keeping these force field together, which gives us ample of time to, destroy the acolyte. Here we go.
I will bathe in your blood in the presence of my father.
That's
That
nice.
doesn't sound very hygienic, my dear.
Also, who's your father? Deacon Blackfire.
Again, her father is Satan.
Alright, let's check her bio, why not? There you go, Satan's daughter. To her surprise of both Zobek and Dracula somehow, Volkova revealed herself as Satan's first acolyte. She's a giant beast that looks like a winged sphinx with a mouth that extends through her neck and sides, opening to a grotesque orifice lined with teeth that divides her torso in two. The feminine form that she no longer retains is nothing more than a vestigial hint of her past, confusing her prey as much as demonic eyes over wings. As lover of Satan, she wants to earn her father's pride and that he recognize her value for all of her siblings. What better way to do than that devour the two biggest enemies in a single bite?
Oh, she likes it that way, I see.
I suppose. It checks also a bit with some imagery, a bit with Dante's Inferno, but in general, medieval Christian imagery, when the scene of lust and gluttony are kind of represented in a similar way, but even lust is represented by someone with an insatiable appetite,
And yet,
so
funnily enough, they had her as a sphinx, which normally isn't associated with lust. I know. So she's a sphinx. Shouldn't she be giving us like a quiz show or something? And
that's gonna work.
Okay, what a lovely image.
She's all teeth there.
Patrick, I know. Just get through the pain. We'll get through.
Was this Was this Patrick? Was this the audio for the recording session for the emoji room? Tio just edited it into here.
Absolutely. The Castlevania 4 parody still with Patrick Stewart in it.
You must finish her off soon.
I'm trying.
Hush, Picard.
Seriously, again, this will assume a bit an hilarious, note if it always was just a very elaborate holodeck set from the next generation. Then Data comes in and says, Captain, what the fuck were you doing there?
You said that a minute ago.
You know what they say, Shiro, the more the merrier.
Hey, old man, why don't I try holding up the shield while you fight the giant sphinx that literally has two mouths looking to devour you?
Also, yeah, she loves to rain lasers. That's what this reminds me of. For the time of, forgot the name, that boss in Devil May Cry 5, which is based on one of the ranged weapons from Devil May Cry 3.
Are you a match for me?
Want to bet?
Yeah, let's have a small toast.
Obviously, we're trying.
Also, she literally throws tornado you just to mildly inconvenience.
Oh, well, trying to kill you, but yeah.
Oh, please no. I'm sure someone's excited about that.
Not even with all your power, you a match for me.
But yeah, honestly, I kind of like this boss fight in general, even though, again, it relies on, plot-wise, it does rely a bit on the stupidity of both Zobek and Gabriel. But even during my first playthrough, I was like, she sounded a bit too suspicious. You might want to get more about her, but no, they literally just get flabbergasted the moment she gets revealed as a Satan's acolyte. Especially because, until this point, we haven't seen a single one, and we're kind of way through actually with the game.
Like, gee, guys, maybe the woman who
the very important
specifically,
person,
created the virus that's turning people into demons, might be an acolyte of Satan. But okay, another thing we have to wonder. So what? Okay, I'm going to assume it was the antidote that made her more powerful and able to.
No, she was just picking it and was just waiting the right moment to prank them.
So that makes us going after the antidote completely pointless.
Actually, there's a payoff.
Well,
not one that Dracula intended to.
Okay. I should rephrase that. It's not completely pointless, but at this point in the story, it does feel kind of off. Like, it's weird.
You have to remember, they wanted to get the antidote for personal gain, so when it eventually becomes more useful, it will be for something else.
I always took that bout to mean that, well, essentially, that the antidote caused her to become more powerful and bust out as well. Which, would make sense given how, who knows however the heck her biology.
There we go. Alright, let's finish her off.
So what was all that grandstanding about how you would deliver my corpse to your father in hell? Get used to disappointment, love.
Plan's been a bit delayed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he goes in for the flourish.
Plot twist, Dracula dies.
Oh, actually, we have dismemberment, I forgot.
She's literally flying with the sword in her head.
She's trying to break the barrier, just in case, but she forgot that now Dracula can teleport, and there's a sword conveniently labeled there for a finisher. There we go.
Straight down the middle!
Yeah, she'll be resurrected.
I love it turns like,
nope!
I mean, we did establish at the start of the game that she kind of did want him to split her in two.
Yeah.
I think she meant
Funny,
figuratively.
Shirai. And now, of all times, now we transition back to the past.
Is now really the time?
Father, wake up! Father!
Father, you've just been having a nightmare. You aren't a vampire, actually.
Superhero landing. This summer, Dracula is Morbius.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because the Marvel
Untold.
the Marvel universe, the Marvel comic universe actually does have Dracula in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man's teamed up with him on a few occasions.
His son was the one who vampirized Jubilee. Thanks.
Like,
Anyway,
Hey.
including the next part where Dracula starts a bit of is gonna spend a bit more time this time around in the past because his son now has a special request for him. So we'll see how's that in the next part. See ya.
See
So,
you
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I feel like Team Sonic Racing may have been a sign of things to come.
I hope
especially
so.
given how okay, I don't want okay. Shuri, have you seen the Sonic Symphony yet? Do you at least know the
Now
concept?
choose your words
Next
carefully.
question.
It reminds me.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to know because without spoiling, I feel like the Sonic Symphony is a good representation of where the series is gonna go, music-wise, and that's all I'll say, so as to not spoil Shiroi on how it ends. Because
One thing. Oh,
holy
sorry.
cow, that was an amazing ending.
Go on, Sherry. Go
Sherry.
on.
Well, for a similar example, since, I've heard the soundtrack and not played the game, but still, like, Team Sonic Racing soundtrack seems to be just a nice little love letter to
Wait.
music that's been across the entire series.
I think I got why Tio was that. I put this bit on, is that he knew that we would be talking about music.
Sure.
They're talking about that hedgehog again. Let me
Almost,
not
yeah, absolutely, Dweebs. Almost a year ago, when I recorded this, I thought, around this point, the guy might will be talking about an event of Sonic that I never heard about and nor actually care about.
No. Here's the thing.
Well, of course, dear. You were thinking 100 steps ahead, like you usually do.
There we
Yes.
go.
Here's the thing. No. Okay. That's the thing, Shirai. Remember, the Tiago was actually one of the composers for Team Sonic Racing. Because
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay. They pretty much brought on everyone who's so much as breathed on Sonic for
That's why I
game.
said it's a great representation of the music of the series as a whole.
remember, that's what Jun likes to do anyway, Joe. Remember, for Sonic and the Black Knight, he brought back Richard Jock. I know, but he's still a good composer, regardless.
Summer of Sonic a couple of years back was amazing.
Yeah,
Like-
and he brought on Howard freaking
Drossen.
Drossen. Howard Drossen. Allow me to remind everybody, for those who don't remember, Howard Drossen was the guy who composed the soundtrack for Sonic and Knuckles. And him returning was kind of really cool on part of June to bring him back. and he even brought in Tommy Tallarico for the hell of it, because why the fuck not? And that's the kind of cool, go out of your way to really do something cool that I really miss on these soundtracks. Don't get me wrong, I love Tomoe Otani as much as the next guy. I just think they Sonic Team overuses him.
Well, I mean, they pretty much have stopped overusing him ever since Lost World because they didn't overuse him in Forces. They divided that well enough, honestly.
Oh, no, but
And
here's the thing, Joe.
Forces even... Oh, by the way, one thing I love that Forces did, finally it brought back vocal tunes. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. But that's the thing, Joe. Allow me to remind you.
By the way, Pedro, speaking of Edge, that's one thing I'd say Forces excels at.
Infinite's theme is genuinely great.
Oh, no, Infinite's theme is
hear any
awesome.
argument
Oh, no, yeah, I love Infinite's theme. That's the thing.
Infinite's theme. I thought we were talking about the game store. It's
Okay,
like, no.
Let me just...
No, like the good old
No.
Edge.
The Edge.
Let me
Yes,
just...
Pedro?
No. Here's the thing, Joe. No. Yes, technically that also applies to even Lost World as well, Joe. I see. My issue is that, remember, even if Otani is not the only composer, he's the sound director, meaning he's directing all the other composers to make sure the soundtrack is consistent with its own singular direction. So obviously, even when there's other composers, an Otani soundtrack is still going to sound like what you typically hear from an Otani soundtrack. And when Jun is the sound director, the soundtracks are completely different. There's a different vision because Jun has a completely different vision to Otani, and we've it's been so long since the main games have had a June soundtrack for a change. You know, because remember, because Otani did. Because remember, the last main series game that he sound directed was Sonic Generations. Yeah, and no, I don't count Sonic 4 Episode 2.
Which was technically 2 main games ago.
Yeah, but in terms of actual years, Jova.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, if we're going to talk semantics and all
Sure.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. Otani did the sound directing for Lost World, Sonic Runners. Remember, he also did the soundtrack for that.
I actually really like that one.
Yeah, it is. He also did the sound directing for Forces. And I think there was another one in there that I'm forgetting.
Did he also do it for Team Sonic Racing?
No. Well, okay. We know the sound director for that was June. I don't know if Otani. I don't remember if Otani did any tracks for
Sonic Runners.
Wait. Are we certain that the sound director for Team Sonic Racing was June? Like, okay, we know that June composed a lot, but do we know that he was the sound director for that game?
Well, I remember them mentioning in the SX the panel thingy. I forgot. I can't pronounce that word for shit. Let me just double check real quick.